what I think.
We wouldn't need them if y'all hadn't commit one of the greatest atrocities that humanity has ever seen. You were instrumental in the slave trade. Y'all did that. So keep that same energy. And now when your immigration status is revoked, when your birthright citizenship is, you got to take, you and that anchor baby got to go back because the Supreme Court said it's a wrap. When even naturalized citizens are no longer guaranteed, when that Lincoln-Riley Act is turning minor theft into grounds for deportation, and you want us to carry that burden. We will not do that. You didn't stand with us. Shout out to Claude Edwards. You didn't stand with us for redlining. You weren't here. Mass incarceration, you said it's because we're lazy. Voter suppression, you said we need to work harder. Redlining, you said, your culture. And now you facing the same system that we battled for centuries. You on your own. We're not your saviors. We're not your shield. And we're not your stepping stone. You all need to deal with the consequences of this very system that you thought you could navigate without us. So go ahead and do it. Now let me take y'all back to 1994 when I was in college. Shout out to Grambling State University. Shout out to my whole HBCU family. I'm just finishing up my sophomore year. You know, like many young black men from my generation, I've been raised on the values, 1980s hip hop, fight the power, the red, the black, the green, you know, the land, the people, the blood. Shout out to the five percenters, right? Getting ready for the Million Man March. I believed in black unity. I believe in Pan-Africanism and the idea that Africa was our motherland, our ancestral home, and our salvation. I believe that. I then watched the film Sugar Hill in 1994 with Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes used to be big. He used to be one of the biggest actors in America. He was the man back in the day. Wesley Snipes, right? He's a man. Anyway, I was introduced to something I'd never heard before. In one of the scenes, there was an African character, and he refused to do business with Wesley Snipes' character, whose name was Romello Scuggs. Okay, so they were in a restaurant. Wesley was there with his brother, and there was another gentleman, two Africans sitting at another table, and they finally approached each other. Apparently, the brother had recommended these folks to do some business, okay? And all of a sudden, the African says, well, we can't do business with Akata. And he said, Akata, he kept saying 2 or 3 times. And I didn't fully understand what he meant at the time. Matter of fact, Wesley's character didn't really fully understand what he was saying either. Akata, what the hell is Akata, right? But later on in the show, or later on in the broadcast, he quickly said, yeah, you know, Black America, we can't do business with Akata. I didn't understand what it meant. Even at that time, I know they got in a fight. I recognize it was disrespectful. Shout out to James Mitchell. It's a derogatory term used by many Africans to describe foundational Black Americans. And it loosely translates, and I think I said earlier, to something like bush cat, a homeless cat, or a cat without a home. That directly mocks the fact that our ancestors were sold into slavery by Africans, the same Africans that are speaking this derogatory, strip of our land, our names, and our heritage, and our culture. Now, at first, I just brushed it off. How many of you all know what scene I'm talking about? The movie's called Sugar Hill, came out in 1984. I brushed it off. I thought it was just a movie, Hollywood. Thought it was just one person's opinion. But the more I live, right? The more I realized that this was not an aberration, it was a pattern. So for decades, right, foundational Black Americans, we'd embraced Africa. We'd worn these dashikis and kente cloth and African medallions and changed our names to these African ones. You got black dudes running now named Mobutu Jenkins. Mobutu Shingbawe Jenkins. Mohammed Mustafa Green. We marched, we protested, we celebrated African culture. We believed that we were reconnecting with our long lost brothers and sisters. But when these large number of Africans came through after that 1965 act, when they started migrating to this country in the 1980s and they got some numbers up, they made it clear to us that they didn't see us as their brothers and sisters unless it was convenient. They made it clear to us that they didn't see us as their brothers and sisters unless it was convenient. And they also carry with them some deep-seated anti-Black American bias and intraracial bigotry. And many of them openly expressed the belief that foundational Black Americans were all these derogatory things: lazy, uneducated, violent, inferior. And this wasn't just everyday people. This is the African governments and African elites and African intellectuals. And they carried the same mentality. And it became abundantly clear that Africa was not looking to save us, nor did they even see us as part of their global Black family. If African government wanted to save us, if they wanted to help us, they would have done so long ago. But let me ask you this. Where are the African ships and planes and docking at? What shores are they at offering to give us safe passage home at any time? Where's the mass resettlement programs? Where's the open invitation for citizenship, land, and economic opportunity? That answer is nowhere. Shout out to Black Sand. The truth about returning to Africa. See, many foundational Black Americans have tried to repatriate Africa. Shout out to my man Lance Jackson. We've tried to repatriate, haven't we? And we've discovered a very ugly reality. The legal and procedural requirements foisted upon Black Americans returning are onerous, expensive, and restrictive. And instead of being embraced as returning family members, FBAs have been robbed, they've been scammed, or they've had their land stolen. And some have even had their homes and communities that they built destroyed and repossessed by corrupt officials because they didn't ask the right chief. And despite our attempts to reconnect, we still considered outsiders, never fully accepted, never fully integrated, and never fully African. Look, the best we've been offered, a year return. 1 year, I guess, 1 year, right? Nothing more than a money grab. They had some concerts. You see, they made some money. It's not about welcoming Black folk back to Africa. It was a ploy to boost the local economy, to get Black Americans to visit and spend money and leave. They played on our emotions, our longing to be part of somewhere. No real land grants, no economic incentives, no citizenship pathways for the average foundational Black American. Now, if you're a movie star, if you're a music artist, if you're a wealthy business person, they'll crown you king. They'll make you a chief of the tribe and roll out the red carpet for you. But the average foundational Black American, there's nothing for you in Africa except intraracial discrimination. Look, man, they tell us you don't know your roots. They say we have no tribe, and many FBAs we have to accept that. But let's be clear. We're the only ones who ever tried to build a bridge. It's always been a one-way street. Africa had 500 years to open its doors to us. Africa had 500 years to fight for our return. Africa had 500 years to recognize its role in the slave trade and correct it. We call her Mother Africa, but if that was our mother, she's a horrible mother because she's done nothing. Nothing to try to compensate or make things right with her children. And what do you do with a mother who's like that? You leave. You go on about your business. And when she comes calling, you walk away out of respect. Now that said, shout out to Rosalind Peterson. Now that said, after all these years of rejection and hostility and silence, they want us, right? Right? They want to tell us that we're all one people because it benefits them. See, now when the deportations have happened, now when the immigration policies are changing, the games have changed, now when they're being stripped of their visas, now when they're being denied entry, now when they're being put on the immigration ban list, now when their naturalized citizens are under threat, the ones that have been sending money back home, now when the birthright citizenship is on the chopping block, right? Even a minor theft to get you sent home, now they want to call us brother again. Let me be clear, we're not your shield.
DennisSpurling got the mic on fire.
Black father, I have black son.
Tune in, weekly feeling inspired. From the heart, real talk ignite. Every episode brings a light. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare. Share the love, you know it's family. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins, enjoy the ride, come say hi. Catch the wave, don't pass by. Lifted spirits always in sight. In this podcast, joy takes flight. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare. Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins.
Donation. I thought it was a trash movie.
Hey man, I'll do what I do. You know that.
Your ass, class, don't come over here. Now, what? You tall black women up inside. I don't give a fuck about